Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Empowering Indian Expats podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, a good friend and a mentor of mine, a very senior IT executive who left his job about 3 years back to pursue his entrepreneurial journey. And in 3 years, what he has been able to do is extraordinary, not only in his business, but many other areas in life. Every time I meet him, he intrigues me. So here is the man himself today, Prabir Saha. Welcome to the show, Prabir.
Thank you very much. And Ehsan bhai, it's pleasure always talking to you. Your smile, your energy really is so empowering. I'm feeling very good. Let's hit it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabir. So I definitely want to go quite in detail in your entrepreneurial journey. A lot of my listeners are people who've been in regular 9 to 5, away from home, came with big dreams, and either they wanted to grow really high in their corporate career or they wanted to get an entrepreneurial journey. So your last 3 years and even before would be really, really valuable for our listeners. So why don't you give a little bit of background on your corporate career and then we will jump into the entrepreneurial journey.
Okay. So, as you have rightly said, I'm definitely an expat. So, I landed in a cold Melbourne morning many years back. I think almost 19 years back. I landed in Melbourne Tullamarine Airport with a suitcase, with a pressure cooker inside the suitcase, a leaking dabba of ghee, some spices, some rice, lentils, etc. Because my mom thought that in Australia you don't get Indian, groceries. So typical, where we sit on the suitcase and make it tight and then finally lock the VIP, the two toggle. That's how I
Yeah,
landed
I
with
can
one
see that.
suitcase. uh, it was so funny, and it was cold, and I've never felt, though I was born in Darjeeling, I never felt so cold. I remember. So life started. Back there in 2002 in a very different manner, and for me at that time, coming to Australia itself, it was a big deal. And luckily, I used to work for Telstra, and thing was okay. And I had a typical life, 9 to 5, apologies, 9 to 9, 9 to 9, 9 to 9, and offshore call, sometimes 9 to 12 midnight, 9 to 12 midnight, and 9 to 9. Thanks God it's Friday. Woohoo! And Saturday, it was like driving the kids to soccer school or a swimming school, or in the afternoon, मैं तेरे घर में चला जाता हूँ. I go to your home and let's have a chicken biryani, and
Yeah.
evening you come to our home, we'll have chole bhature, etc. And in typical, during that time, friends get together in the back rumpus, where we used to decide and discuss on the nuclear disarmament treaty, the CTBT pact, why America is not doing so much great in economy, and why Sachin Tendulkar could not score the next 100. And that was our typical topic.
Relate,
And,
I can completely relate to it. Yes.
and on Sunday morning, it was my chore was vacuum and toilet, because I think my wife likes my face next to the toilet bowl. Just kidding. And she used to cook the whole meal and take care of the kids, etc. And in Sunday at around 4 p.m., it was a perpetual depression that Monday is coming. I'm not sure how many of you would relate to that life. That is the life which I had,
I
typically.
completely relate to that. So you were a programmer when you started here, or
I was a program lead. I was a damn good programmer. I have worked on mainframes, C, Unix, you tell me what not. And I think my manager believed that I had certain leadership skills, and I quickly moved into project management and things
leadership? Yeah.
like in Telstra. So now, that typically weekend to weekend life, weekend to weekend life. And then the twist came. And the twist came in 2008, 11th of November, to be precise.
How do you remember the date?
That was a turning point of my life. How I can forget that? I I had because at that point of my life I was as very big in size. I was hyper obese. So I was touching almost 120, 125 kilos in weight, high blood pressure, eye issues, and the other thing was I did not have good with food and etc. And I had a high hypertension, and the work which we used to do was an on-site offshore. Many IT people would know on-site offshore.
Of course, I have done that for a long time.
It was so difficult that while one day I had developed certain, not going in deep, I had developed an ailment for which I had to take shutdown of my life. And during that shutdown period, during that hospital journey, where I was not sure what would happen, and that was a typical journey when I'm not sure many of you relate or not. Hey, what is my life insurance number? Those kind of
I
thoughts.
haven't reached there yet. Okay.
Where is my life insurance? Was it, oh, what was that company? What will I do now? And all those things happen. And during that moments inside the nursing home, inside the Anglis Hospital in Upper Frontier in Melbourne, there was something which snapped. From office, and I used to steal time from my family, because family, though they were there, they were not important. Office is important, and many people, unfortunately, in our society, especially Indian expats, we take family for granted. And I think it's forget about Indian expats. Almost it's rampant everywhere. We take family for granted, and we go and overserve and overdo with our employers, and really we don't know that we are a temporary cog in the wheel. And the realization came when, in that whole episode, I got two thank you cards, a bouquet of flowers, and some people asked me how you are doing.
And where did the card come from?
From my office colleagues now. And that was one card, and everybody signed get well soon, etc.
It is a good thing, isn't it?
It is a good thing, but it gives you a realization that in your family picture, if you are suddenly X'd out, your office colleagues would not come and take care of your family. And that where the snap happened. And now many people, I'm sure many people have got that snap. But and I'm a very, very disciplined guy. And I think when you ask your wife about one of your good qualities, if the quality they say, that means you definitely have. So if you ask my wife, what is one of the top qualities which Prabir has, she would say he's hyper focused and hyper disciplined. Now, whether it is good or not, it has definitely helped me. And I have constantly, that was my North Star in my life. Now, what happened was I decided, no, this 9 to 5 business would not work. It has no longevity. And by that time, during the time of my recovery, which was health recovery, I started reading books. And the first book I read was Oprah Winfrey's life story.
Yeah.
And in Oprah Winfrey's life story, if you read that book, her life was more, using a non-parliamentary word, shit, than many of ours. But she somehow pulled it up. And that inspired me. And in her book, there was a story of Bill Bartman, whose audios I sussed it out on internet, and I listened to it many times. And he's a very big investment banker from our rags to riches story. It inspired me. And
What's the name again?
Bartman.
Bill Bartman. Okay.
Name of the audio was 9 Steps for Achieving Any Goal. Okay.
9 steps for achieving any goal.
And there he talks about something called promise plan. Not a goal, but a promise plan. And he also taught about neuroplasticity, where you can actually, using your focus and determination, you can alter an arrangement in your body. You can click some neural synapses. That two things I have picked up. And today also, when I mentor many people, I suggest that audio to be heard and listened as many times as possible, because that created a neural synapses. Long story short, I started getting voracious into books and I started meeting mentor. I believe that, all professionals have mentors and coaches, and amateurs do not. And I was an amateur by that time. uh, for sure, I thought I was a professional, but I was an amateur because I didn't have a mentor. Then because it's for Indian expats, everybody has a little understanding of Hindi, I'm sure. There is a kahawat in Hindi, or a saying is, your association builds you, or jaisi sangat vaisi rangat. And I started surgically. Sangat doesn't mean friendship. Dosti means friendship. Sangat means association.
Association. Yeah.
Two different words. And if you, like, as I said, if you have very high focus and high attention, you'd understand the difference between the two.
Yeah.
I did not alter my friendships, but I altered my associations, which is
Association.
Sangha. The moment I started bringing those people in my life whose life inspired me and whose fruits I would like to have in my tree, I started emulating them.
So what kind of association you bring in your life, and how did you go about it? Because say if I'm an IT professional working in Sydney 9 to 5, I go home in the evening, and your routine that you explained, that's what I would do. So I have a certain set of people that I associate with. Now you are saying once you realized, you started to associate with different set of people whom you call mentors and stuff. So can you give a little bit of insight in there?
So if you look up meetup.com/transformation plus, that was the first beginning of that journey. I created on Meetup platform, I created a group called Entrepreneurship Mindset and Networking Mind Group. Today, it has over 5,000 plus members, Ehsan bhai. Now, there I met a lot of very successful entrepreneurs. Some of them are Indian experts, some of them are authors, motivators, bankers, etc. They started coming, and I started hiring a small hall in Ross House near Flinders Street Station in Melbourne. I started it in a cafe, and then slowly it grew, and that introduced me into the world of neuro linguistic programming, NLP. I did my life masters and and during that journey, in daytime, I was typically yes, boss, or yes, boss, yes, boss, yes, boss, that thing. But evening, it was like a typical Superman story, right? In the daytime, I had that glasses. I actually used to wear specs, and it was like Clark Kent, okay, yes, boss, all right. Everything is okay, fine. Client pressure on site, offshore, this escalation and all that thing. Evening time, when I come out, I am totally a different person, as if I had a dual personality. It might scare some people, but I had a dual personality. Evening, I was totally different. And that life slowly started inspiring me and pulling me into those caveats which I have never experienced before, those connections, etc. Now, I registered my company on 17th of December 2008. And to tell you frankly, I did not have guts to pursue. Well, it was mostly fear. Everybody has fear. Now, and most of the questions, the fear comes from what if काम नहीं किया तो क्या? And mortgages, etc. We have so much attachment to things. What if it doesn't work? Now that what if story was with me also. I'm no different. Absolutely. So it was like this, the plane is to go up, again come down, hit the runway. Okay, job is okay, fine. I go back to job. But from then I moved to Sydney. I'm still in job, but 2013, when I took the job with a very big telecom company here, and I started with a 34 people team, and I grew that team to 542 FTs to be precise. So I had an opportunity to serve 542 people in our team. I experienced, it was my volition. So I made job to work with me instead of against me. I took that job with only one focus, one mission. Now I'm not talking about my goal. My corporate goals were different, but I had only one mission, that this particular experience will help me to scale. If I can do this here, I can do this outside. So that was what you call proof of concept.
Yeah.
And my my pay structure was such that it was more coming out of commission. It was not a salary that I negotiated with it. You're getting my point?
So that gave you taste of actually
It,
creating money for your own. So
yeah,
it was a
yeah,
POC for entrepreneurship and creating your own income. Like you are a magician who create money out of nowhere as an entrepreneur, whereas in job you just get paid at the end of month, however whatever you do.
right.
Understand? Yeah.
During this time, I had a person. I took a mentorship with Robert Kiyosaki during that time, 2009. It was 1 year. Reached at a program which is called Insiders Group. Invested money on my brain, and I started like the library, beautiful library you have that tells me, son, you are on a different journey, because that is where is your asset, which is just behind your seat, right? Same with me. I,
Provided we read it and
and
implement
implement.
it.
Now, Esan, I'd like to make a small change here. Read. Many people read. Reading will not help you. Studying it will help you.
Studying. Yeah.
Read and study are two different words in English. And if you pay enough attention, they're two different words and has two different outcomes. So if you study the book instead of read, then the magic will start. Does it make sense?
Definitely. Definitely.
Now, Ehsan, very interestingly, from 2016, and that time, all my job was I ramped up such a big team. Then my job was to fire people. That was the cog of the wheel, which when tweaked, I decided to make a change. I said, my job is not to fire people. My job is to give more employment to people. And I'm firing people because I have to align to certain CFOs direction of bringing the cost down, bringing hyper automation, etc. And we treat people, we have started treating people like an Excel sheet. And I rose in an Excel sheet, and I believe, I'm sure I'm also a row in somebody's Excel sheet. And I cannot let 2008 repeat again. And I was around 2015, end of 2015, 2016. That time, Ehsan, something happened. If not now, when? If not me, who? I started building a runway. And this is, I'm not giving you a dream, I'm giving you a plan. Building a runway will be very important. I bought my family, my elder son, my younger son. I had, first time in my life, I had a family meeting. I said, look, this ain't going any further. I have decided to leave the job by this year. I was very highly ambitious. I thought 2017, but I end up pulling the plug in 2018, mid of 2018. Between 2016 and 2018, Hassan, I became one of the most frugal. You cannot call me conjuice. Conjuice is miser. Frugal is very different thing. Frugal
Understand.
means I somehow, me as a family, we started existing within 30 to 35% of our income. Everything else which are non-essential, we cut it. So you have to sometimes play a role in your entrepreneurship to first create that thing, so that when your wife or your partner starts looking at it, that this guy means what he says, you start creating a saving potential, a small saving potential. Now, compound interest, everybody likes it, banks likes it. I also liked it. So this small, it started showing me a number which, and everybody has a fear of mortgage, right? What happens? How will I? And I had this genuine fear on God. But that compounding helped. So from 2016 to 2017, almost close to the end, around October, November, I started building the runway. Then this is what I did. Many people, what is the saving interest in the bank, Ehsan? It's 1.8%, 2%.
Something like that. Yeah.
The best investment, one of my mentors said, the best investment is always in people. If you can invest in people, right? Many people would say land, I beg to differ. If you invest in good people, you'll end up owning other assets also. And I took it at heart. I invested in two guys. I employed two guys to start working on an idea. In my Melbourne home, on the back side of my Melbourne home, right?
So you had not left yet, or you had left the job,
No, not yet.
but you hired two guys.
Yeah, from uni. And we started training them, got the right thing, and we started building it. That went till February. And
Can I ask you a quick question here? So it kind of went fast in my mind. So you were contemplating quitting and starting something on your own. You started to save, became frugal, and now comes the part of what do I do? What do I build something? Start something. So if you can share that part, like you would not suddenly went and hired to
no,
use
no, no.
students.
Yes, you were right. Because as I said, my sangat changed. So because if you hang out with lawyers, Ehsan bhai, you will talk like a lawyer
Got
eventually
it.
in 6, 7 months' time.
Yeah,
If you talk to IT entrepreneurs and people who are who have scaled, exited, or built a large corporate, I'm talking to them. They are now in my association.
I
I
see.
have understood one thing. If you sell services, everybody thinks of I will become another guy who will become a recruiter. Okay, I will buy at low, sell at high.
Yeah,
Now, Ehsan bhai, it doesn't require a brain of rocket scientist. If there are two shops in your locality and both sell Coke, okay, the only difference would be the price or the kind of goodwill you have with that,
that's right.
right? Now, I understood being in service industry myself. I'm talking about people who aspire to become an entrepreneur in software area. I understood service has a low leverage, but product has a very high leverage. And I started hanging out with people who have created products,
I see.
software products. And
You were in Sydney then, right? You were in Sydney.
yes,
So you,
I go to meetup, I meet people, I hang out with them in LinkedIn, I go to webinar, podcast, you name it. And there I read that book Lean Capital by Eric Niles. I I would request everybody who is in entrepreneur journey to read it. Eric Niles, called Lean Capital. That's the Lean Startup.
Lean,
So
that's what I was thinking. Lean startup.
it is Lean Startup. So the blue color, white color book.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've read it. Yes,
So that propelled me how to find out a problem in the market and validate it. I thought I found a problem. I made my mistake. I got two guys and I started investing. They built a product called Little Mata, but which did not fly up. During that time, my head earlier was a very solution centric head. All software driven people or who are in IT diaspora or any people, doesn't matter whether you are civil engineer or a electrical or a software engineer, we are very trained to give solutions. But as an entrepreneur, you have to retrain, I repeat the word, retrain your mind to become very problem focused. So because if you are a good solution giver, you will be hired by the person who owns the problem. That's what my mentor said. So what I did, Ehsan bhai, I became the person who owns the problem, and I figured out who can find the solution for me. And that point of time, long story short, in Canberra, actually in Governor House, I was invited in one of the event, went to the Governor House, and then I met certain people, made network, and I saw one of the presentation where they're talking about cybersecurity. Believe me, I don't know cybersecurity that well at that point of time. Now it is different. I understood that this problem, if I think it was the head of innovation of Oracle who was giving that presentation, I said, these people, when they're talking about this, that means it's already validated. I took that problem and I dated with many people. I use the word dated because everybody understands dating.
Yeah,
I dated with many people who are in the domain of cybersecurity, and finally I found a co-founder. After unsuccessful dates for a few times, I found a co-founder. I i i just stayed with the problem. Then we validated the problem with almost 52 CISOs.
the chief security officers.
Yes.
So give me a glimpse here. So you hired two guys to build Little Mata, which I believe was in retail industry.
Right.
Yeah. So you were automating some part of
Supply chain.
supply chain, and that didn't work out. So you were still paying these interns,
Right.
and then you through your network. And one thing you did right was you kept going out in association. So you met some people in Canberra, where you heard people already accomplished talking about problems in cybersecurity. You realized this is a validated problem. So then you started to date many people in cybersecurity space. And then suddenly you found a co-founder, or you were looking for people whom you could work with or who could solve this problem for you. What was the thought process? That's number one. Number two questions. You've already left jobs. How many months by now? 6 months?
So I left in June. So how many months until now from that moment, which is when I hired the two guy, it was uh, October. I had October, November, December, 3 months, and January, February, March, April, May, June, 9 months.
So you have left your job. It's been 9 months. No cash flow,
Huh.
and you have already built a good runway. So you do have some saving.
Yes.
So you were not worried about cash flow because you had a good amount of saving.
Yeah. And I will not shy to tell you that there were difficult junctures in my life. I had to do certain odd jobs just to make sure I, it's not that I didn't have money, but I decided I will not touch the money of the salary of those people. I did some odd jobs like, driving taxis, etc., for a short period of time to make sure that my expenses are covered. And there are certain aspects, Ehsan bhai, I used to drive to Melbourne many times to meet customer. I used to sleep in the boot of my car, not in the hotel, boot of the car. And I had a fluorescent jacket, which I used to go and BP, pay $2 and take shower there, go and meet customer using suit and ties. If you look at my car till today, there are 3 sets of suit and ties, my whole PJ, everything. My car is like a home. Okay. And I could sleep in the boot of my car, folding the rear seats. It's like a good bed and it's very cost effective. And I had done that thing. Many people, the reason they don't make it is they don't know how to pay the price.
Hmm. But what was driving you? So yeah, you figured out cybersecurity is the space. You want to do something in there. You didn't really have any product idea at that time. You kind of started to go deep in thinking the problem, but you had no clue how you would solve or what will you solve and who's going to be customer and all. So you were still dating to trying to find out. Were you not scared like, am I on right track? Will I be able to make it? Because developing the SaaS product and making it usable and making profit, and it's a long-term game. And you left your job, so you were aware of these things that I'm in a long-term game and or may not succeed.
So I started a service part, consulting.
I see.
Okay. Product part. Now,
Okay,
what we did, the scared, the amount of scaredness slowly started decreasing as we started validating the problem.
I see.
The more, so we made a list. It took us 6 months, 52 CISOs we interviewed, out of which 48 gave the interview, out of which 16 said that yes, it's amazing problem. And if you solve it, it's 16 said we'll buy the solution, out of which 3 did.
Awesome. It's still a very good number.
Yeah. So as you validate the problem, if you read Lean Capital, he talks about the word validated problem. If you validate the problem, your scare level will go down.
So how long did it take from the time you started to look into cybersecurity to finding your co-founder and validating that this is the right problem to solve?
7 months.
7 months. I'm not sure how many people can withstand that.
But understand one thing. I had many days I was this close in losing my house.
You mean the mortgage payment?
Yes. But understand, God plus you equal to majority.
I understand. I get that. No, that's good.
I am telling you, I'm not so much religious, but I'm very spiritual. There is a book called Power of Now. It's also, most of them will think that it's a management book. It's actually a spiritual book, Power of Now. I was so stuck, as if a divine hand came out and gave me a small twist of idea, and I took the next step. I did not see the end of the journey. I'll not lie to you. I just saw the next step.
I see. So if I understand right, on one side, of course, there was a fear of not having income. Did you ever feel like you may have to go back to work job, or you never thought about it?
I made a promise. If I have to live in this planet, I'll not go.
Okay, so you were determined. So,
Absolutely,
burn
because
the bridge.
I can again drive Uber and I can survive, but I will not work for a boss.
Do
And
you feel it's important? Because if you're not fully decided, then chances are anything goes wrong, you'll say, oh, maybe I should look for a job. And then
Ehsan bhai, you have to burn your bridges.
burn your bridge. So I got that point. Let's go on the next point. So I'm absolutely clear with that. So we were determined, whatever it takes, and that's important. And that's why the whole creativity or extraordinary or celestial power or whatever with you could withdraw or draw in because you were absolutely determined. And you had done some saving. And I believe, if I'm right, you can correct me. You started to build a service part of it that started to create cash flow, which you could potentially reinvest in
Invest in the product.
salary of product team and things like that. Okay, fantastic. So theoretically, it looks interesting and easy.
Meanwhile, important part. When my product was just a PPT, not a very big software, which is now, I approached close to 17 to 18 VCs, and the way they reject you, some of them are very unkind, some of them are kind. That rejection created a grit in me that one day you guys will chase me. And it started happening.
Or you started to feel, or you said them like, one day you will chase me. You said to them, is it?
Yes,
Did
of course.
you?
See, look, Ehsan, you know me very well. I am a shameless guy, right?
So you
I
told them one day you will chase me.
Yes, and I have my first customer has come after 42. I measured 42 no's, and I was told that you are so irritating, just to get you off our head. Here,
Understand. Persistent. So let's delve a little bit deep into the product development part of it. So what does your cybersecurity product does? What is it called?
it is called I Secure Cyber. If you go to Google and type, or LinkedIn, you type I Secure Cyber.
And what does it do?
Very simple. Asanji, if today an electrician has to come to your home, they need three information from you. A, what's your first name at least? Your phone number and your address. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what happens to that data?
They search in their application to find more detail about me. And,
How they handle that data? Do you know? No.
no.
Okay. So from your perspective, they are your third parties,
Yes.
right? And let's say in some of the work, if they have to hire another contractor to do your job as well. That's called their fourth parties.
That's right.
Now, that's how our product started. 78% of the breaches which happens in the world as per Carbon Black magazine are because of the third party and fourth party breaches. So I'll explain you a little bit more. Let's say today there is a very big bank. Okay. Let's say the biggest bank in Australia, whoever, whatever name comes to you.
CBA, Commonwealth Bank, yes.
The customers. Okay. So they, it's very difficult to breach them. Would you agree? It's
Mm,
very difficult to breach them because
wouldn't
they have
agree.
IT, they have a lot of cybersecurity people employed, IT infrastructure, security infrastructure, very difficult to breach them.
I still don't agree, Prabir, but anyway, go on.
Think of a supply chain model like this. CBAs, all the hardwares, all the desktop computers, which they still have, is managed by a company called, let's say, Unisys. Okay. Now, Unisys has a small insurance company or a cable suppliers called XYZ Cable. Okay, they supply this RF 232 or the lightning cable or something, and they have an insurance company called XYZ, and that insurance company has a paper supplier called ABC. Okay, who prints all their mailers, etc.
Yeah,
Think of this supply chain. Now, third party is fourth party is fifth party, like that. In this supply chain, the hackers normally, they find out which is the lowest entry point in that food chain,
right.
because most of them would start with a small and a medium vendor.
True.
Reach there and slowly hop on up till the last game. That's how BNP Paribas was breached.
Right.
Okay, so this is the best effective way of breaching. Now we stop that. We can say we have created what is called an automated cyber risk officer. So a small, medium business and a large enterprise, without employing or without using high value materials, or that is softwares, or high value consultants, they can actually create a cyber profile so that they and their customers are protected.
I see. I see.
And there's a
So,
big market gap.
so if I understand, traditionally, uh, if you're a large organization like CBA, you do mandate a certain set of audit and review in terms of security with your vendors, and you also expect your vendors to do their due diligence with their vendors. So there is already certain activities being done. So are you saying that's manual and not effective? So two problems. One is manual. So of course there are gaps, possible gaps, and second is not effective. Am I thinking right? So what you are
Yes.
doing is you are not only making it automatic, you are making it also foolproof and effective. If
And
is that the right thinking?
the most important bit, there's one more thing which is most important bit. If you think of a small and medium business, which more or less many people are suppliers to large enterprises like bank, insurance companies, etc., they do not have dedicated IT department. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? So they don't have, and they don't pay cyber insurances also. Many people don't, small and medium businesses, but they are suppliers to large enterprises, right?
Yes,
So who takes care of their thing? They are exposed, and possibly they don't mind, they don't have awareness about that exposure itself unless it is breached. Many people are already breached, but they don't know that they are breached.
that's right. So how does your product removes this bridge? So how does it
So,
work? If you
so
can, in a
it,
layman language.
so it basically sits in the supply chain. So for example, I'm talking about one of our customer, they are insurance company. They have almost close to 100 odd vendors in Australia, and they provide medical insurances. Okay, now they earlier, before our product, what would happen is procurement is onboarding A, B, C, D, but the CISO doesn't have any idea whom they have onboarded, what they are doing from a cyber. So for example, if you are onboarded somebody, hey, they have offices in this place, Ukraine, they have done this. So you create a cyber profile. Now procurement is onboarding, the CISO has no idea. Now, if some breaches happen, then it is CISO's neck on line. Would you agree?
Yes.
Our product, you cannot, it sits directly in that onboarding, like Ariba and other thing. It has soft integration with Ariba, SAP and things like that. So it sits there. The moment you onboard something, it creates based on the SME knowledge which is there in our engine, it creates a cyber profile for that. Hey, you are bringing this. So immediately they start tiering the, based on your risk profile, you can tier. It's a tier A, tier B, tier C, tier D. If it is tier A, then we will go for a CPS 234 compliance. Then automatic questionnaires will generate. It will go and shoot email. It will bring awareness into the whole ecosystem. It was not happening earlier.
I see.
So imagine you are CISO. I am a procurement. I have got 3-4 vendors today onboarded. Would you have any idea whom I have onboarded? No.
No.
Now, because we are sitting right inside the hub, anything I do, it will go for your approval.
I get it.
Because you have a different dimension in how you see the things. The procurement has a different dimension. Maybe he's only thinking about how to bring the cost down and how to get a good company as a good supplier. But your dimension is a security dimension, which the procurement guy is not trained to do that. Are you getting my point?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So it basically removes all the stovepipes or all the silos. And it has dashboards, etc., which are very easy to understand for CISOs and the people who are affected by these cyber controls and things like that. And also the beauty is another beauty which comes out of our product, very important. Let's say you are a company A, I'm a company B. Both of us use ADP payroll, it's a real name of a company, for our payroll activities. For you, you are doing a cyber profiling, you are spending a money to do an ADP payroll cyber profiling, risk assessment, etc. I am again doing for the same thing. So when ADP payroll comes into our platform, we do the task once and pass it on to everybody who uses ADP payroll. Your cost of implementation goes down.
So I'm pretty sure, it sounds very exciting, and I'm pretty sure you would have worked out the value proposition in terms of the manual intervention.
90%.
90%. So that's one. Then the cost effectiveness and the peace of mind side of it, because
A
there's a
cyber,
certainty. Yeah,
a cyber consultant from big consulting house, they charge around $2,500 per day.
that's right. That's right. So how is it going in market? How it's when did you really launch finally? So you
Uh,
left your job in 2018. For first 6-9 months, you tried different things.
did a beta launch, then we did an alpha launch, and then 3 weeks back we did our version 2 go live. So we bought many new features. Now we have AI also
That's
inside that.
awesome. So when
So
you talk about new feature, it is based on the feedback that you are getting from your customers that you have already rolled your product in.
spot on. That what a good product company should do. Our customer gives us the features, what they want to see. And if you do it enough, then your cost of research and development goes down.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I could have another session with you for people who are really interested in building a SaaS product business, because there's a lot inside what you have done. So without going into detail, at high level, the journey was you had built your runway by saving some money. You started with one good thing you did is you started to build association of right kind of people. So you were never sitting alone and thinking like, okay, what do I do now? I'm going to leave the job, but what do I do now? You were constantly challenged by ideas and thought processes of people who were already into trenches. They were doing things. And because of that, you took this um, initiative of hiring intern and starting to build a product didn't go through very well. I know you did on selection process and finally it didn't go well for whatever reason, but you got some experience. Then you kept meeting people. At one point in time, you realized cybersecurity space has a problem which I want to solve. Then you started dating a lot of people to find out if there are people whom I can work with to solve. You found your co-founder. You started to build a team around him. You had already met 52 CISOs and you had validated the problem. And from there, of course, you started to build the product and you started to go back to your customers. Now you have three customers in Australia. I know you have already started to explore Indian market and few other countries. How many countries you are looking at right now?
Uh, North Africa, to cover France and North Africa. India, we are almost on verge of SOW. I think we have started drafting the SOW. That's a tick. And we have just signed an SOW yesterday with last month and yesterday we signed two new SOWs. So from the last score, we are already ahead now.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask some question. I hope you'll be comfortable with this.
Can I tell you one more thing?
Yes.
For your viewers, many of them, they think entrepreneurship is a lone wolf journey. Not really. Entrepreneurship is always a team sport. It's always a team sport. You need to get into the element of build. If you try to do everything yourself, entrepreneurship is not the right trade you should pick up.
Definitely. So you are on this product for 2.5 years now, I believe.
Almost going to be 3.
Going to be 3 years. And this financial year, you crossed multiple seven-figure revenue without going into the numbers.
Yes.
With 40% of net margin, which is exciting. How much was from product and how much, well, in terms of percentage, what percentage from product and what
80-20.
80 from product or 80 from services?
80 from services, 20 from product, and slowly productive. That's how it is, that's how it is. And soon, if you draw a simulated graph, which we do, in 2 to 3 years time, it will topple. 80 will become product, 20 will become service, and that's what you want.
Definitely. So there's a lot I wanted to know on how did you build your service practice and all of those things, but it's already taken a lot of time from me. So a few interesting questions. You talked about your health issues in 2008, and that's where you thought life has to be lived differently. After you left job, I also know you got into some very interesting practices. You lost I don't know how many kilos, but first time I had seen you before you had left, no, after you left the job, I guess I saw you and I was like, who's this guy? Like, I can't even reach his face because there's so big a belly in between. And next time I met you, I couldn't recognize because he had no belly. So you went through a serious transformation. Like, how much time it took to go through the transformation? How much weight did you lose?
I lost 48 kilos. Let me talk about my physical sizes. And it's some people will find it very cheesy, but I used to wear 44 waist. My waist size was 44. Now it's 28.
44 to 28 in how many months or year?
At least 1.5 year.
1.5 year. So I see, I've talked to you a lot of time. I have very high respect for your discipline and persistence. I wish I could build those character traits. Of course, I am building. I'm not too bad in there. But the way you have built your business, again, it's a consistency and persistency. Health-wise, you struggled for most of your life, but when you decided, you transformed it. And what you do in your practice, which let me say that you walk 23, 24 kilometers every day, which takes 4 hours of your time.
5 hours.
5 hours of your time. So you do 5 hours of walking. you run a pretty good product company, and there's a service part of it. So 5 hours you work, and then you sleep at 9 o'clock, wake up at 3:30. So you've completely transformed all of those things are working together, complementing one another. These practices, you believe, you recommend these kind of practices to others, or you just
Right.
unique about
I
you?
absolutely see. If you don't have any control on the body, if you notice, we are 5 layers, and if you understand how our bodies are built, your body, first of all, your body is not you, Ehsan Bhai. You have to detach your body from you mentally. So most of the, when I refer to this guy, it's my body. It's not me, it's my body. Now, the moment you detach it, you will start taking it as a tool, which it is a gift of Mother Earth. It is a tool, and that tool needs to work in your favor, needs to work in favor of your dreams, desires, etc. Most of the people, they don't, because they're too much attached to their body. Okay. Now, I am possibly talking 30, 40,000 feet. Many people will say, "Yeah, what is it talking about?" But it actually makes sense. I demanded certain amount of performance from my body. I demanded that, and to do that, I had to discipline my body to do certain thing, eat certain thing, wake up certain time. I get up at 2:30 a.m. in the morning every
Not
day.
2:30, 2:30.
2:30 a.m. precisely in the morning. I finish my yoga, etc. By 3:30, 3:45, I finish my breakfast. 3:45 to 4, I start going out. By 9 o'clock, I am back. I have my lunch at 9. You might think, oh, 9 o'clock lunch, yeah, pagal hai kya? Is he mad? But wait, let me finish. And then I start working on my team, my business related activities, etc. And then by 2:30 p.m., I finish my dinner. Then I don't eat anything. Okay. It has given me a powerful surge of energy. And that energy I command out of my body. And most of the people, many people said, "Oh, your knees will melt." Honestly, my knees are very good. And I have such a stamina, you wouldn't believe. So every day, whether it's a rainy day, it's not a good day, or it's a bad mood day, or I had a fight with my wife day, or my kid was not well day, any day, doesn't matter, snow, rain, hot weather, or I've slept late, any day, doesn't matter. I do that 21 plus kilometers every day. That amount of that psyche, once that psyche has formed, I got such a power and such that I could do anything.
Right, right. So, in fact, I did want to ask some of these questions on building the mindset and character trait. So, what you have done with all the conversation I've had with you, you say it's not so much about talent, Asan. It's one thing you said is get in the surrounding. Just don't keep thinking, get in the right surrounding, build an environment. That I got it. Second thing is find a problem that's worth solving. Find a problem that's worth solving
Without thinking of the solution.
without thinking of the solution. That's a big problem with IT professionals, or any professionals for that matter. We are smart Googleites. We can Google and find out things pretty fast. And second thing is start to validate the problem with people who actually are going to be the consumer of your solution. And of course, you can't build something on your own. So start building a team.
A small tweak in what you have said, I generally validate with the people who have a technical or a functional capability to validate that problem.
Okay, got
And it is affecting their day-to-day life or day-to-day outcome or performance goals, etc.
it.
Because they don't have the solution.
Got it. So this is a pretty straight step-by-step guideline. How do you go about starting a business? And in other industries also may have similar setup, but at least in SaaS area, you have already talked about. Another good thing you did is you started to have a service arm of it that kept feeding your product team. So that worked really well in my mind. I think what is more important for me to understand from you is all the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It shakes people up, the emotional ups and downs, family issues, health issues, and all of those things. And every time I talk to you, see, as a son, my north star is extreme discipline, extreme persistence. Is it something you already always had, or you kind of started to tell yourself, Prabir, if I have to succeed, I got to be the most disciplined person. I got to be the most persistent person. And eventually you built it up, because none of us can say like I'm 10 out of 10 in discipline and persistence. So if you could remember how you have built that up, if you can share, that will help a lot of people.
I was wired wrongly earlier. Uh, I was very emotional about my goal, emotional about my dream, and and I had I had devotion to my goal, very devoted to my goal. Everybody has a dream in life. My mentor, who taught me, Prabir, everybody has a dream, but people who have a validated plan, I repeat the word validated plan, they will succeed. Rest all will keep on dreaming.
I definitely get that part. So that the burning desire to succeed in whatever we want to achieve is
Most of the people
definitely,
don't have a plan. They have a dream, but they don't have a plan. The dream has to graduate. So that
even if I have a plan, Prabir, where I want to call out is the extreme discipline and extreme persistence which I'm experiencing is definitely required. And that's not something I'm born with. I'm pretty sure you were not born with. How would you build discipline and persistence?
just because just doing one thing, become very devoted to the process. This
Okay.
21-kilometer walking, most of the people can relate. They would think that it's not possible. To
Yeah.
do the 21-kilometer, I started with 100-meter.
Yeah, I remember that.
100-meter became 500-meter. 500-meter, and I have never stopped to one single day.
That's what I want to know. How do you rewire your mind? Because most of us,
Rewire it.
yeah, we are not able to do 7 days a week, 365, and you've been doing it for 1.5 years now, I guess.
Only thing is called the success. The key is JFT, just for today. I live today, Esa. I don't remember what happened yesterday. And I'm not really thinking about tomorrow. Tomorrow, I may not be alive. Right now, right at this moment, I'm experiencing life with you. My full attention with you. I'm not thinking ki kal kya hoga. I'm not thinking what is my. I am right now. I am very attentive in what I do. Right now, I am talking with you. You are occupying 110% of my mind.
Get it?
Most of the people can't do that. They can't live in the moment. Either are we are feeding anxiety from the past,
Yeah.
or 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 pre-playing our deadly future. Most of the things which you have feared about, Ehsan, doesn't happen. True?
Yeah. So you're talking like Eckhart Tolle and Sadhguru, and I
True.
believe you do have influence of
The
these
Sadguru.
gentlemen. Yes. Okay, I got it. I mean, it's easier to listen and say, "Yeah, I got it," but
I have lived it.
implementation is the key. So
I
I understand.
live now. That's why tomorrow, when I get up, tomorrow's walking is not today's decision, Ehsan. Tomorrow I'll take the decision fresh. Then what happens is there's something very important with decision making skills. Most of the people don't know how to make a decision. They make a decision today, and when you take a decision, it is based on certain parameters. Let's call it environmental parameters. You may have an euphoria. Ooh, आज तो फोड़ ही दूंगा.
Hmm.
But tomorrow बीवी से झगड़ा हो गया. Let's say you had a fight, or
Hmm.
boss ने कुछ बोल दिया.
Hmm.
Tomorrow the environmental parameter has changed. So that decision euphoria doesn't stay.
Right.
Would you agree?
Absolutely.
हर दिन, every day, you have to take that same decision again. It's called just for today. It is actually taught to Navy SEALs and para commandos. If you only do just for today, when I get up in the morning tomorrow, I have not decided to walk. I'll take the decision tomorrow morning when I'll get up. Oh, it's raining. I will walk today. So tomorrow's decision is based on rain. Let's say a few days back, it was almost 3 degrees when I was walking in Canberra, and it was in a very dark spot. I get up, very dark, raining, and I don't know the place also. I took a torchlight, opened Google Map. I said, I will start now. 21 kilometers. I finished.
Wow. Wow. I think I got that point.
And can I add one more thing? You might think I'm very crazy. I'm driving from Sydney to Melbourne. Wherever my car stopped, I get up very early morning. I got up and I drove. The moment it was just around 5 o'clock, 5:30, when it is becoming little bit white, I stopped my car on the highway. I put a GPS marker of 11 kilometers one way, stopped my car on the side. I walked. I came back to my car. Now, if I would not have taken the decision that particular day, I would not have walked. If it was a previous day decision, would you agree?
true, very true.
हर दिन decide करना सीखो, हो जाएगा.
Got it. So I've got a lot from this conversation, Prabir. I wish I could continue talking, but I've already taken a lot from you. I hope it will be very helpful for a lot of my listeners. Typically, I ask quick questions at the end, like what's one book you would recommend? Would you still say Lean Startup, or you have some other
And
book?
Lean Startup is a skill set oriented book. Before that, as you have rightly said in beginning of this, mindset build करना बहुत जरूरी है. I think start reading with Go Giver by Bob Bug. And you are smiling because I personally know you have read Go Giver too, and you are actually a Go Giver.
I definitely believe in the philosophy. I have got three books from Bob Burg: Go Giver, Go Giver Influencer, and Go Giver Leader. I believe leader,
Right.
yeah, leaders.
Right.
I've read all
Go
three.
Giver, Bob Bug, 5 principles. It took me 2 years to implement.
Implementation wise, I'm not sure of how strong I am, but I've been naturally inclined on those principles. So I didn't have to really think about implementing it. So um, I feel good about it.
That is the book I would recommend everybody to read. Bob Bug's Go Giver. Amazing.
Any influence? You talk about mentors, and of course, you had several mentors. You talked about Robert Kiyosaki. You took up a 1 year mentorship from him in 2009, is what you mentioned. Um, Apart from Robert Kiyosaki, any mentor that you will mention who has influenced you to go on this?
Oh, very much. Jyoti Bansal,
Jyoti
then
Bansal.
Alejandro Cremandos, then Vinod Khosla, then Klaff Kaifman of Wise. Then there are many, and I ardently follow them. I'm very much every day I listen to podcast of different founders who have exited or created scaled large SaaS companies, and I have learned so much. Very very simple thing, how to uh, how to convince a customer of giving you a first order. We always talk about $1 million. I started with $10,000 order.
Right. Right. So you gave a lot of names. I'll try to put it together in show notes as well. In terms of investment, I see that you have invested a lot in yourself. So if I had to ask you, what's your number one investment in yourself that you are very proud of, or you feel that was the best investment in yourself?
I have dedicated my time religiously in building my association.
I got
Most of the people, they have hesitations meeting new people and we generally feel very comfortable. I used to be a guy, I still remember that old guy, Prabir. I used to be very comfortable in meeting people who are below my headspace. It I would have I felt like I'm shining.
get it.
But later on, I felt like a son. Then my mentor, and this credit goes to Sadhguruji specially, it will become a moon, not a sun. Moon is a reflective entity. Moon has a very high gravitational force, as you might know. And moon is also, when you see moon, you feel very loved and cozy, right? Yeah, a lot of poets have written poems on moon.
Yeah,
So I started hanging out with sun, SUN. So I today, whatever light you see in me is because of the shine of my mentors. I'm a moon. I shine in their brightness.
I think that's the best input I have taken from this conversation. Traditionally, for a long time, I did the same. I would be the smartest person in the room. But of late, I understood that, and now I just now heard from you. I was listening to a girl, 23-year-old girl who is in Hollywood today. She started in Ukraine as a gymnast or something, and she's grown and grown and grown. And at 23, she's living a dream life. She decided to go to US. She couldn't speak English properly. Now she's a Hollywood actress, mostly works in horror movie. I don't remember her name. And when asked, no, how did you do all this so fast? And she said, once I understood and started to implement that I need to be the least smartest person in the room, I grown and I've grown and I've grown. So
My mentor always says one more thing. Can I repeat? And
yes,
this is
please.
coming from a billionaire. He's saying, if you are the sharpest guy, you'll be hired by a person. But if you become a dumb guy who can hire smart people, you'll become very wealthy, rich, and influential. So
No,
I am honestly, I consider myself as dumbest guy in my organization.
no, that's wonderful. It's very difficult to digest because all of us have been trained to be the smartest person in the room. That's what whole school system is all about. If I don't become number one in the class, I'm probably not as good. And I used to be always number one, and I'm number two this year. Maybe I have not performed well. So that has been embedded in our mind throughout when we came at work. If I got the promotion, yes, I'm the smartest. If not, I did not get the no, I'm not the smartest. So we've always been competing with other people around us. So it was completely embedded in mind, like I got to be the smartest person. Whereas in the world of entrepreneurship, it's absolutely opposite. You don't need to be the smartest person. In fact, you should not be the smartest person, because you got to have people around you who are smarter than you. Can't build Tesla on your own. You got to have those engineers around you.
Become like a moon. The moon cannot shine unless sun is there.
I think this, I deliberately spend a little bit more time on this, though I've taken a lot of your time, because that's so important. And I actually feel it, realize it, that I didn't do it for a long time, which I'm definitely doing. I'm sitting with you and I'm absorbing so much. The whole philosophy of starting this podcast was also the same. When I realized I'm not able to have an association where I'm meeting people who are way ahead of me on daily basis, I was constantly thinking, what do I do? And suddenly this podcast idea came in my mind. I said, this is the best idea. Then comes like any initiative, you have to start to think in a structured way and find out what will you do, what kind of podcast, whom will you talk to, or will you share something. And finally it came to, I'm an Indian who left India, been in Australia for 12 years or more, wanted to really excel and had big dreams, but I was still stuck in the same old routine. How do I really get out of it? And then the podcast idea all started to come together, and then I realized, okay, let me just speak to people for now who are from Indian background. Let's call them Indian expats or Indian migrants or whatever we call them. And they also came through the same background, and then they took actions to start building their dream. So be it an entrepreneur or somebody who's doing extremely well in corporate career itself, because there's a notion that you cannot really grow beyond certain level in a foreign country, which is also not true. You know that a lot of people coming from subcontinent Indian background are actually are on the top in Australia, in US, and in many places. So yeah, that's what is going on, Prabir. So really appreciate your time and hope My listeners have got a lot of value from this conversation, and I would definitely like to talk to you again next year. By then, your product and services and everything would have expanded worldwide. And we will come to know more about the second phase of business. Once you have started, you have got your first few millions, and then how do you really scale? So that's what I would like to listen from you
I,
next.
I felt so amazing. And the best part today is I'm constantly, when I'm looking at you, I'm seeing the beautiful book rack you have and the kind of knowledge. There's a lot of things to learn from you also. And the proof of the pudding is the books which you choose to read. And as usual, it's amazing what you are doing. And I'm sure many of the expats from Asia would take the benefit of what you are doing today. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Prabir. Bye.